So let me now hand over the floor to His Excellency Ambassador Lee. Ambassador, you have the floor. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Farooq Soban. Can you hear me clear and loud?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Honorable Planning Minister Muhammad Abdul Mannan and Mr. Mostafa Kamal, President of KBCCI, and Mr. Sudipto Mukerjee, my friend, representative of UNDP, Bangladesh, and Mr. Farooq Soban, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, CSR Center, representatives from Korean companies in Bangladesh, and distinguished guests who are joining us virtually from various places. Assalamu alaikum. 안녕하십니까. Good afternoon. I welcome and thank you all for joining today's Korea-Bangladesh CSR Conference. Let me first extend my sincere gratitude to our chief guest, His Excellency Minister Mannan, for gracing this event despite his very hectic schedule. And I thank my colleagues at the CSR Center for their excellent support and partnership. I'm very glad that we are gathering today with such an important topic of corporate social responsibility, CSR, business strategy and philosophy, aiming at sustainable and accountable business practices. Let me briefly share with you the three goals we are intending to achieve through today's CSR conference. First is to raise awareness about the importance of CSR. In today's world, companies are playing an increasingly bigger role in the development of a country. It requires more active involvement of the business sector to make development sound and sustainable. Public sector alone cannot achieve sustainable development goals without due participation of and leadership from the business sector. CSR is a critical factor to make business as well as economy sustainable. Second is to share good practices of Korean companies in Bangladesh in their contributions to the society and local community. Around 200 Korean companies doing business in Bangladesh are contributing to the country's economic development in various forms. They are not just making profits, but also spending money to help the local people improve their lives. They are also setting examples on how companies can be responsible for and responsive to the needs of society. We will hear today stories of some Korean companies on their CSR-related activities in Bangladesh. And our third goal is to invite companies, both Korean and other countries, to join the CSR campaign and make efforts to become more socially responsible. I believe that there is much room for many Korean companies in Bangladesh to do more and better CSR activities. CSR doesn't need to be something big. It can start from your mind and attitude. It will be the best way to win the hearts and minds of the people and consumers, which would lead you to bigger business success. Distinguished guests, as you may have noticed, the subtitle of today's conference is CSR for Human Resources, Development and Economic Growth. Last week, Daily Star newspaper reported that Bangladesh is one of the top 3 performers of Sustainable Development Goals Index. Human resource development, including education and vocational training, is a critical element in achieving SDGs. With its abundant young population who can learn and adapt to new technologies quickly, Bangladesh is well positioned to flourish in this era of the 4th Industrial Revolution. This is why I believe Bangladesh must continue to funnel resources to quality education for all, and this is one of the areas where Korea hopes to provide meaningful support. In fact, human resources development has been one of the priorities of Korea's ODA programs with Bangladesh. Through KOICA, Korea has established 3 vocational training centers in Dhaka, Chattogram, and Rajshahi. And the National Institute of Advanced Nursing and Education and Research is another landmark human resource development assistance in health sector established through KOICA in 2013. It is Bangladesh's first ever postgraduate nursing education institution. In the area of ICT, Korea provided EDCF loan to establish ICT education and training center in Dhaka in 2012. Also, KOICA has installed 100 IT labs in secondary schools in Dhaka to help strengthen ICT capacity for computer teachers and to provide learning opportunities for students on computer and ICT. We also launched a project this year to establish an education and training center in Dhaka University to promote creative youth entrepreneurship in Bangladesh. Also, a startup cooperation program was recently launched in cooperation with Bangladesh ICT Division to foster innovative startups among the Bangladesh youth. Through this program, 10 Bangladesh youth with innovative startup ideas were selected and invited to Korea for 6 months from March this year. They will work with Korean experts and mentors for commercialization of their business ideas. These are just some examples of Korea's support in human resources development. From the private sector, many Korean companies in Bangladesh have long been involved in a variety of CSR activities, particularly in training the workforce and supporting students in schools. Today, I look forward to hearing from my colleagues from Youngone, Samsung Electronics, Samsung R&D Institute, Hyundai ENC, and Dohwa Engineering about their previous and ongoing CSR projects, as well as future plans to support the local community. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2 years, our 2 countries will celebrate the golden jubilee of diplomatic ties. It cannot be emphasized enough that Korean companies have played a key role in the development of our bilateral relations so far. They were the frontier investors in the RMG sector from the late 70s, and more recently, they have been actively engaged in infrastructure projects from Hyundai's Jamuna Bridge in the late 90s to the latest Dhaka Airport third terminal by Samsung. They have been the agent of strengthening the ties between our 2 countries and will continue to play a pivotal role in the project. In closing, I hope today's conference will provide an opportunity to appreciate the important role of the private sector in our bilateral relationship and remind ourselves of the importance of socially responsible conduct of business coexisting with the local community, especially in this difficult time caused by the unprecedented pandemic. Thank you again for joining us today, and I hope you will find today's presentation and discussion very fruitful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for those very important remarks outlining the significant contribution made by Korea and Korean companies, both to the practice of CSR and their contribution to the economic development of Bangladesh. What you have just outlined in terms of Korea's contribution to human resource development, I could not agree with you more on the importance of this for Bangladesh. The Bangladesh story is now well known and will be increasingly well known across the world. The achievements of Bangladesh, whether in the field of economic growth and development or in terms of our social indicators. But we would also like the world to know that Bangladesh is today a leader in the field of CSR. And I think with the help and contribution of Korea, we can achieve that very important distinction. Thank you again, Excellency, for your very enlightening presentation. It gives me great pleasure now to invite our chief guest for this event, His Excellency Mr. Muhammad Abdul Mannan, our Minister for Planning, to give his keynote address. So over to you, Minister.
Thank you, sir, and good evening to everyone here. It's been always a pleasure to meet with a lot of important people, particularly after a long gap. I can see Ambassador Farooq Subhan, who is one of our very senior diplomats, a public servant, of course, and he is joining us for this important event this evening. So I would like to extend my greetings to him, first of all. And then, of course, most importantly, Ambassador Lee, who has been in my office about a month back, I think. We made good friends. It was a very pleasant meeting with him. We had about half an hour of talks between us. We reviewed the friendship that exists between our two great Asian countries, Korea and Bangladesh. In fact, Ambassador Lee's picture was hanging in my board outside the office for quite some time. So a lot of people could see exchange of flowers between him and me. So Mr. Lee, nice seeing you again this evening. And of course, I'm grateful to you that you sought me out to join you this evening and other distinguished guests for this very important event on a matter of concern to all of us. First concern is, of course, our friendship with Korea. That's abiding. Korea has been a great friend all through. Ambassador Farooq Subhan knows it very well. He was in those earlier days in our diplomatic service. So he knows a lot more than I do. Korea is not only a friend in the ordinary sense, it's a sort of an example to our people. Example of hard work, example of decent work, example of innovation, and how they made from a lower middle income country to what it is now among the G24. So Korea is an example to Bangladesh, and I have no doubt appreciating that and admitting that, and also thanking Ambassador Lee and through him our friends in Korea for the support provided to our country all these years since our independence in 1973. I'm also very happy to see Sudipto Mukerjee, a good friend of ours from UNDP here, to join us. And of course, Mr. Mostafa Kamal, who is a very important, very senior business person in Bangladesh. So he has added more importance to this evening's event. Mr. Azizur Rahman, I'm afraid I couldn't really say more about him, but of course, he's one of our, another entrepreneurs, and then also would be able to contribute a lot in this very important discussion on CSR activities. Ladies and gentlemen, CSR is a parallel activity by the private sector. Private sector is the leading sector in Bangladesh now, more so in Korea, and it has its own responsibilities. It has to address to various demands by the government, legal demands, very rightful demands that they usually do in their own business responsibility. But beyond that, good businesses mean also good social responsibility. And we see nowadays that there's a sort of a parallel activity by well-known business houses, including some in our country. I can name some, but again, so through CSR, they supplement, they add strength to what the government has been doing in various fields. But the government of Bangladesh, as you know, is now highly engaged in its development efforts. We probably are breaking through our poverty situation. Although the recent COVID has somewhat made life a little more difficult for us than it used to be before. But we are confident we will be able to, with help from friends all over the world, including of course Korea, who are in front of us today, we'll overcome this difficulty too, and we'll return to our very, very well sort of established, very well recognized path towards development. And in that path, we need friendship from all, particularly those countries who have traversed this path in the recent past, including of course Korea, which is an example of very fast development. I remember the early 60s and 50s when they were entering the global market with their very large exports. Korea was a very well-known name in our country those days. If I am not completely wrong, in the export sector too, Korea initially was very successful in the garment sector, in which we are quite active nowadays. And we did learn our initial, what they say, a few lessons from our Korean friends. Even if I can remember Desh Garments, Mr. Nurul Qadir Khan, his name used to be going around those days. He had been to Korea and learning from them in this yarn and garments trade. And following that transfer of idea and technology and help with Korean friends and others, rest is story now. It's well known to everyone what we are doing. And we hope, just as Korea used its initial export capabilities and moved to a higher level of economic development, we also hope to follow them in this very well-known, well-trod path. I think we are now, our garments and other manufacturing sector has consolidated. Our technology level is quietly changing to a higher level. And we hope also to be joining our friends, Korean friends, into a higher level of economic development in the coming years. Meanwhile, we have been admitted in the lower middle income group. I think that's just for now. We should be moving into higher middle income group very soon. And of course, our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has very clearly declared, has very clearly expressed her desire, her will, her goal to be among the rich countries by year 2041. We want to be, by 2030, we want to be reaching the goals of SDG, in which of course Koreans are also already there. So in that score, this meeting today, CSR meeting organized by Ambassador Lee and his embassy and others who joined him, is very important. We in the Ministry of Planning, where I work at this moment, we welcome all private sector initiatives. Our own private sector initiatives are fostered by our very friendly and very positive government rules and regulations. And although we at the same time must say that the original and the basic loyalties of the corporate houses toward the rules and regulations and its responsibilities towards various liabilities to the government, classic liabilities, in terms of corporate taxes, etc., remains undisturbed, will have to be fulfilled. And in that background, CSR activities is sort of a additional sweetener sort of in the whole process. So when Ambassador Lee broached this issue with me of CSR, I jumped at it. I thought here was a good opportunity. Not that we're going to make a lot of money here, but the point is we're going to make friends. We would like to assure Ambassador Lee that Korea is a good friend of ours, and whatever Koreans would like to do, and Korean companies in Bangladesh, 150 of them, I see from his papers, should enjoy living and working and making their fortune or making their business goals realized in Bangladesh. There are other players in this whole business of CSR. I'm sure they will all join. Particularly, Ambassador Faruksuwan was mentioning about Youngone Corporation, which has been in this country for many years now, and they have been also very active in CSR activities. And I'm sure others who are coming up in this field and other companies who are very active in Bangladesh now can also find an alternative way of investing their goodwill, investing their excess funds, investing their funds which they, in their corporate culture, they earmark for social responsible activities, so that they can invest those here in Bangladesh. Our government is very positive towards CSR activities. There are tax breaks for that also. And there are other facilitating rules and regulations. And particularly in relation to a friendly country like Korea, which has a very strong reservoir of goodwill in Bangladesh. I'm sure them, the Korean embassy, and the Korean companies here, and Kotra and Koika and other organizations can all join hands and pick up their areas of choice. I can assure them from the Ministry of Planning, from the government of Bangladesh, that we'll stand by them in all their rightful activities within the rules and regulations of both countries, both Korea and Bangladesh, to our mutual benefit. So in that light, let me conclude my intervention at this stage by saying that how much we enjoy seeing our Korean friends here this evening in this very important event, and also seeing some of our country's pioneer business people here in this event. I hope through this event our bonds of friendships are strengthened, and we both countries benefit in the coming years. And at the end of the day, people in Korea, people in Bangladesh enjoy a better life, enjoy better living standards, and enjoy a more peaceful Asia, enjoy a more peaceful world as a whole through our very rightful business activities. I thank you, Ambassador Lee, for your kind words and for inviting me this evening. And of course, Ambassador Faruksuwan for his kind words in opening the discussion. And those others who will speak later, for them also my best wishes. Thank you very much. Jai Bangla, Jai Bangabandhu.
I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister for Planning, Minister Abdul Mannan, for his tour de horizon. He has covered a broad range of subjects, starting from the significant role played by Korea in the economic growth and development of Bangladesh. He has focused, of course, special attention on achieving the SDG goals by 2030 and Vision 2041, all of which he has stressed the importance of CSR. We are very grateful to the Honorable Minister for being here with us, for sharing his insights, for highlighting the importance of our relations with Korea and of the Korean companies that have been active in Bangladesh, some of these companies have been with us for many years, as mentioned by the Honorable Minister, in particular Youngone Corporation and their contribution. Thank you, Minister. We appreciate very much your presence and for your continued support of CSR. On behalf of the CSR Center, we know whenever we have approached you for your help and support, you have always been very forthcoming. It gives me great pleasure now to invite our next speaker on the program, Mr. Sudipto Mukerjee, the resident representative and country director of UNDP. Mr. Mukerjee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ambassador Subhan. So I don't know whether the Honorable Minister is here or not, but it's a difficult act to follow the way he speaks so fluently, and so he engages every audience, irrespective of what the subject might be. So my friend, Ambassador Lee, we have the, of course, Mr. Ambassador Subhan, it's very early morning for you in Washington. We are late, not late, but early evening here in Dhaka. Mr. Mustafa Kamal, the president of the Korea-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I see my very respected elder brother, Dr. Atiq Rahman, here as well. So, salam alaikum to you and all distinguished participants. It is indeed my great pleasure to join the Bangladesh-Korea CSR Conference 2021 as a special guest today. Just like Bangladesh is a very important member state for us, Korea is also a very extremely important member state for the United Nations and UNDP in particular. And those of you who may not know, UNDP has a permanent center in Seoul, which is the Center for Public Policy. So we actually, Korea has been not just a very generous and accommodating member state for us, but it's also one of those ones which really encourages us to do more and better. I express my deep appreciation to the Embassy and the Republic of Korea, and of course the CSR Center, for organizing this very timely and important conference and inviting me to say a few things. COVID-19 pandemic is a setback for sustainable development everywhere. In fact, interestingly enough, when the COVID pandemic actually spread across the globe, a number of global leaders actually approached the UN Secretary General and said that now that we've all been distracted, our work on SDGs have been distracted by COVID-19, can we actually push the 2030 date to a later date? And his answer was no. All the more, it basically tells us that Agenda 2030 is the right response to deal with future pandemics. If we do get our act better, this is going to help us avoid such pandemics in the future. So what started as a health crisis soon became a multidimensional humanitarian disaster, accompanied by rather severe collateral costs. For the first time in 30 years now, global human development has declined and extreme poverty is rising again. The COVID-19 pandemic wreaked havoc on economies and widened the social divide. Increased inequalities and crumbling social safety nets were exposed, and the need for change has become evident. In fact, in all the conversations we do these days, while we celebrate the fact that it was Bangladesh's digital readiness which actually helped the initial period of the pandemic, but it is the growing digital inequality which has now become of concern, because if you don't have a smartphone, you're very unlikely to be able to actually access many of the services that the government is now providing, or even what the private sector is providing these days. In fact, if I might just use an analogy from another colleague, COVID-19 is serving in most nations, Bangladesh included, as a major downpour of rains on a leaking roof, helping to show where we need to act quickly and plug the holes. The devastating effects of COVID-19, which is rising inequality and the climate crisis, are interconnected, and so must be our response. UNDP's signature Global Human Development Report, which 2020, it was titled The Human Development in the Age of the Anthropocene. Until that time, I did not even know what Anthropocene actually meant, but then I realized that Anthropocene simply meant the age of human beings. And this particular human development, which is actually a report which is actually used a methodology slightly different from the traditional methodology, and it's actually included 2 planetary adjusted indicators, has put forth evidence how human activities and greed has plundered the planet, and in turn now poses an existential threat to humanity. Climate change and the COVID crisis are perhaps just the tip of the iceberg. We learned about the hard way. We must reshape governance and social justice by respecting both people and planet, and create new openings for managing systematic challenges to join hands and build forward better. And this will take an all of society effort, including all of you, which are businesses, big and small. Now, in September 2015, when all 93 member states of the United Nations unanimously adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, laying out a path for the next 15 years to end extreme poverty, fight inequality and injustice, and protect our planet. In fact, the SDGs were quite different from every other development agenda in the past for many reasons. One was the fact that it included every nation of the world. It did not differentiate. It had an ambition to leave no one behind. It suddenly reminded us that many of the problems that we deal with are actually problems that cut across international boundaries. In fact, we are not just citizens of our own nations, we are citizens of the planet, and we all have planetary responsibilities. And of course, very, very importantly, it also showed us that there are many things that even as individuals we can do. I'm often tempted to think about SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production, something that we can practice in our day-to-day lives. And of course, not to mention the fact that this will require an all of society effort. It will include not just governments, but ordinary citizens, of course, not to mention the private sector. It provided an universal and comprehensive framework that united the environmental, social, and economic dimensions of the sustainable development and asked for collaborative partnership across the globe and across companies and the government, everybody, to realize the 17 goals. Today, the 2030 Agenda has become a leading narrative about the role of business in society. In fact, that particular year, 2015, was an amazing year, historic in many ways, because the first time in history that 3 major global agreements were actually sealed. One was the Addis Ababa Financing for Development, which recognized for the first time that the world's largest development actor was not governments, but the private sector. The second was, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals. And finally, of course, not to mention the Paris Accord for climate change. The 2030 Agenda has unlocked the transformative potential of the private sector and incentivized changes in financing as well as consumption and production patterns to support sustainable development. For example, the role of business in achieving Goal 8 on decent work and economic growth, Goal 9 on industry, innovation and infrastructure, and Goal 12 on responsible consumption and production is evident, and participation in change by business is going to contribute to the fulfillment of the vast majority of goals and targets. As far as we in UNDP are concerned, as the United Nations lead agency on international development with a presence in about 170 countries, UNDP works to eradicate poverty and reduce inequality. And we basically support partner countries in developing policies and institutional capabilities and building resilience to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, since 1972, UNDP and its partners have supported Bangladesh in making critical advances in governance, poverty reduction, climate change and disaster resilience. In Bangladesh, UNDP's engagement with the private sector cuts across various topics. I don't know how many of you know it, that, in the last 3-4 years, UNDP has actually helped Walton, which is one of the largest white goods manufacturers in the country, to change its technology, to basic technology, to move to greener technologies. And that alone has actually helped Walton multiply its business several times. We also, let me speak a little bit about when COVID hit. We actually set up a private sector platform for COVID-19 response and recovery. And this, we realized that, when COVID struck, that it was not just the small businesses which were caught underprepared or unprepared at all. It was even the big businesses that had been caught by surprise. And we felt that just if we managed to bring some of them together, it would serve as a mechanism for the business community to engage better in the COVID-19 both response and recovery in much more meaningful ways. So I actually remember evening after evening when we were still in a lockdown, I would actually get the names of all the big honchos, mostly the domestic Bangladeshi business leaders. I called them up one by one, and we actually brought them in together to see how we can actually do three things. Basically, how we can get the private sector to actually join the response and recovery efforts. See how UNDP could actually be the bridge between the government and the private sector to see what the private sector needed in order to recover quickly. Because if the private sector recovers, then obviously the whole country's economy would recover, and so would everybody else. And finally, not to mention the fact that, here were the brightest minds in the country. We felt that we could just get them to actually foresight into the future, anticipate, the kinds of changes, the emerging the way the world is actually evolving, and actually make sure that they are prepared and stay ahead of the curve. And more recently, with UNDP's support, we are actually setting together a platform called Future Nation, which again is going to unlock economic opportunities in the recovery period. Now, as far as business and human rights are concerned, and SDGs, Bangladesh is set to graduate from the LDC country group in 2026. And for sustainable and resilient LDC graduation and development, each and every stakeholder in Bangladesh have a crucial role to play. With all practices and lessons learned from the past, the business sector can go one step forward, and that's the emphasis on responsible conduct. Responsible conduct in the form of reputational harm, financial liability, regulatory penalties, but there are also opportunities for businesses to make themselves accountable and responsible for sustainable growth and for respecting people and the planet. There was a study which was undertaken by the Danish Institute of Human Rights, and that showed that more than 90% of the SDGs goals and targets are actually linked to human rights obligations of states. And businesses also understand that if they drive respect for social, environmental, and human rights responsibility across the operations and value chains, they can induce positive changes in the lives of millions of people directly linked to all 17 SDGs. In fact, one of the things that we have actually seen growing evidence that is those businesses which actually had been embracing the SDGs had been also the ones which are able to actually cope better and weather the crisis that come out of as a result of COVID. Businesses can make a much more substantial impact on SDGs by mainstreaming human rights in all its business operations. For example, when businesses conduct robust environmental impact assessments and monitor their operations and supply chains for violations of environmental laws, they substantially reduce the number of deaths and illnesses from hazardous chemicals and air, water, and soil pollution and contamination. That's SDG 3, good health and well-being. Similarly, when businesses develop and enforce anti-discrimination policies, they further efforts to end its impacts on women and girls while ensuring women's full and effective participation in economic life. That's SDG 5, or gender equality. Now, UNDP is committed to supporting Bangladesh's effort to implement the standards contained in the United Nations guiding principles on business and human rights, and to expanding our engagement with the private sector. In fact, we have an ongoing business and human rights program, and I'm actually quite delighted to tell you that, the amount of interest that we have seen in the private sector. Today's private sector is a much more enlightened private sector across the globe. They realize the role that they need to play in order to be influencing a much more positive change in society, positive transformation in society that looks after both prosperity for all, but also looks at planetary health. So in conclusion, the Sustainable Development Goals are much more important now than ever before. I mentioned to you the United Nations Secretary General's view that Agenda 2030 is what will actually the antidote for pandemics like COVID. Now is the time to secure the well-being of people, economy, societies, and of course, our planet. UNDP has strong operational capacities on the ground to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, a sustainable business and a responsible business environment where growth and respect for people and planet go hand in hand. And if we want to reverse these trends that have upset much of the pre-COVID progress made in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, we must commit ourselves to tackle this crisis head on. And to do so together, UNDP is ready to work together to ensure that we chart a course towards a much brighter future with a much stronger partnership. And that partnership stretches both with governments, but with civil society and the private sector. Let me conclude a bit provocatively by quoting a very senior business leader who famously said that there is no such thing as corporate social responsibility. There are only irresponsible corporates. So thank you very much for your attention. I wish you all a very fine evening and healthy and safe days ahead. Thanks very much, and thank you very much, Ambassador Subhan, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Mukerjee, for those very constructive suggestions highlighting the importance of the SDGs, but also highlighting the additional challenges that we all face in the wake of the COVID pandemic. I should mention that the CSR Center is the focal point and coordinator for the UN Global Compact. And indeed, in trying to promote the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, we have ourselves taken the initiative to add as the 11th principle the implementation of the SDGs, because we see, as you yourself had outlined, most of the SDGs, in a sense, have a CSR component to them. And we cannot promote SDGs without promoting CSR and vice versa. We're delighted about the initiatives that UNDP has taken in mobilizing the private sector to be more proactive in the wake of the pandemic. Let me say on behalf of the CSR Center that as we have done in the past on many occasions, we would be happy to join hands with UNDP in mobilizing both the private sector as well as civil society, and taking a whole of society approach really, because we need the government. We worked very closely with the Ministry of Planning and the Minister in developing CSR guidelines within the 5-year plan. I think these are all, one is linked to the other. I think you were right in highlighting, on the one hand, the challenges, and to the challenges, we need to also add the issue of LDC graduation We have, of course, taken immense pride that Bangladesh has fulfilled the criteria for graduation, but we also must take into account the challenges that lie ahead, particularly in the wake of the COVID pandemic. So thank you again for speaking to us with a certain degree of candor, but putting forward also on the table some very constructive initiatives and as well as suggestions. So it gives me great pleasure now to invite my old friend and whom I have always referred to as an iconic figure, Mr. K.H.Muhammad, Chairman of Youngone, who has done so much for Bangladesh, particularly in the promoting the RMG sector, and who has, through his own business practices, been an example and model for the private sector as a whole in promoting and practicing CSR. He has taken a very important initiative, which is to promote the Korean Export Processing Zone as a shining example of both green technology and the most environmentally friendly economic zone in the Asia-Pacific region. We are delighted that he could be here with us. He's going to speak to us, and I believe we will also benefit from seeing a short video on the latest developments in the KEPZ. So over to you, Chairman K.H.Muhammad, who's joining us from Seoul. We're delighted to have you speak to us on this occasion.
Good evening, good morning, and well, assalamu alaikum. Honorable Minister Planning, Mr. Abdul Mannan, His Excellency Ambassador Lee Jang-geun, of course, Ambassador of the Republic of Korea, Mr. Mukerjee, Country Representative UNDP, who just delivered the speech, my dear coach and friend, Ambassador Farooq Soban, Chairman, Board of Trustees, CSR Center, Mr. Mustafa Kamal, President, KBCCI. I'm extremely honored to participate, to be able to participate this venue, because I was flying around. I just came last night, and then I am in house quarantine in Korea next 13 days. Still, it gives me a lot of pleasure to be able to do something. Also seems very significant for us to meet you all and also say something and show something to you. Greetings from Youngone, Korea. At the onset, please allow me to thank Korean Embassy in Dhaka, the CSL Center, for organizing this very important and timely event, the Bangladesh Korea CSR Conference 2021. In particular, my sincere thanks to Ambassador Lee for taking the lead, along with Ambassador Farooq Soban, to host this event with the CSR Center for the fourth time after its inaugural event in December 2012. Aimed at raising an awareness of the contribution of Korean companies in Bangladesh to the well-being of the people of Bangladesh, sustainable well-being, I mean. CSR is not just about targeting some social and economic issues in society related to people's welfare, but increasingly has become a business model on sustainability agenda and responsible business conduct. It is a self-regulating business model that helps the company to be socially accountable to itself as stakeholders and the public through transparency. By practicing corporate responsibility, companies can be conscious of positive impact it creates on all aspects of society, including economic, social, and environmental contributions. To this end, Youngone Corporation, as an early pioneer in the RMG sector in Bangladesh. Actually, Mr. Nurul Kader Khan was my neighbor, and I knew him. I still meet their families, and we have a fond memory together. It's not only manufacturing the highest quality products, but is to promote worker welfare-oriented practices. Eco-friendly environment management in its factories encompasses some of the best practice in the field of CSR, which we believe is to create a positive impact on all aspects of Bangladesh society. We were able to achieve in all Youngone premises, nobody smokes. However big it is, nobody smokes. So we are talking about 70,000 people are practicing non-smoking since many, many, many years. And also we have no garbage in and around our factories. This is also another one. Also, we were able to almost eradicate all the mosquitoes in and around Korean export zone, export processing zones. But I am struggling to ask everybody wear mask around. In our factories, everybody wear mask. But I'm having difficulties having them wash hand every time possible. So if Mr. Mukerjee having a big publicity machines like, could do something that everybody should wear mask and wash hand as much as possible. That will really make you fight, or we all fight better against pandemics this time. So on this note, I invite you all to view a presentation of preferred practices of Youngone in the field of CSR. And also, I would love to have your comments for further improvement. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Minister and all my colleagues and Mr. Ambassador Lee Jang-geun, I really want to thank you for all these initiatives you are taking, that you are doing incessantly and without being, having any fatigue. I must say that he has done a wonderful job for short periods of his stay. Thank you, Mr. Farooq Sobhan, Ambassador Farooq Sobhan. Thank you again for everybody here. Thank you. My video is about 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. We look forward to seeing the video.
Thank you.
For over 40 years, Youngone Corporation has been a proud part of Bangladesh's industrial and business community. Throughout this time, our approach to business has always tightly integrated with our holistic commitment to CSR, specifically ensuring positive impacts on all aspects of society, from economic impact to environmental protection, as well as cultural and social upliftment spanning decades. Youngone's flagship Korean Export Processing Zone, or KEPZ, is an incredible case study of world-class industrial infrastructure integrated into massive environmental and ecological sustainability efforts. The ecological rehabilitation of what was once barren land was the foundation of the initial development of this area. Under its Blue and Green initiative, Youngone has planted over 2.5 million trees, of which some 300,000 have been planted in the last 2 years alone. This transformation from sheer wasteland to greenery has been lauded by various international bodies, including the International Union on Conservation of Nature, IUCN, World Free Zone Convention, the World Bank, and others.
Hello.
The Blue and Green initiative has also seen the creation of water bodies within KEPZ to ensure the availability of fresh water. To date, 25 lakes and water bodies have been created, holding up to 500 million gallons of rainwater each year. Elsewhere in Chattogram, heavy industry has caused the groundwater to reduce by 20 meters in 40 years. However, the groundwater level around KEPZ has increased thanks to KEPZ's rainwater harvesting. This enrichment of the underground aquifer has helped surrounding villages meet their water needs. The lakes also attract a huge number of migratory birds every year, and 137 species of birds have consequently settled in the area. The incredible biodiversity of the zone has been recognized by Chattogram University's Department of Botany, which has identified over 400 species of plant life in this zone. To meet its growing energy demands in an environmentally sustainable manner, Youngone has undertaken a massive 40 megawatt solar power project. This will see state-of-the-art solar panels cover the roofs of every single industrial building throughout the zone. Youngone's factories are equipped with wastewater treatment plants and effluent treatment plants. These measures were highly commended by two former presidents of the World Bank during their visit to Youngone factories in Dhaka and Chattogram. Youngone has made available considerable funding for the conservation of Royal Bengal tigers in the Sundarbans, and its president, Ray Yoon Sung, is a board member of WWF Korea. Youngone is a pioneer in female employment in Bangladesh, and currently over 75% of its workforce are female. It is also constructing 9 purpose-built dormitories for female workers. Once complete, these dormitories will house over 5,400 female workers. Female factory workers with children are also encouraged to use the company's childcare centers, where trained staff look after the children during working hours. Youngone has also sponsored higher education for its female workers at the Asian University for Women. Outside its factories, Youngone has supported the empowerment of females in different ways. Youngone constructed a number of student dormitories in Mymensingh to enable underprivileged girls from Garo communities to pursue higher education. To stem the dropout of female students due to a lack of female toilets, Youngone has funded the construction of 40 toilets in 20 schools and colleges in Islampur and Jamalpur. At its factories, Youngone provides subsidized meals to all its workers at a cost of only 2 taka. Full-time nutritionists are also engaged to ensure the nutrition and health of the meal. Workers are given free medical services, including free medicines under qualified doctors and nurses. Youngone also provides a national and international air ambulance service in cases of serious illness or injury. In 1999, Youngone also introduced the concept of independent female counselors to assist workers with personal and professional development. Youngone established the Arirang Flying Academy to allow young Bangladeshis to train towards a pilot's license at an affordable price, significantly cheaper than other flying academies abroad. Arirang Flying Academy has since been recognized as the best flight school in Bangladesh. Youngone is proud to have contributed to the expansion of Prayash, a school specializing in the education of autistic children, run under the patronage of the Bangladesh Army in Chattogram Cantonment. In over 25 countries, Youngone has also donated more than 5 million pieces of winter clothing to the underprivileged. Youngone funded and set up a complete computerized lab, the first of its kind, in the Department of Graphics at Dhaka University's Faculty of Fine Arts to harness the creativity of a generation of students. It is a point of pride for Youngone that their offices around the world are adorned with Bangladeshi art. Over the decades, Youngone has purchased hundreds of paintings by Bangladeshi artists and has sponsored exhibitions to promote Bangladeshi art. This commitment to arts and culture is best illustrated by the recently completed multi-million-dollar restoration of the famed heritage site Boro Sardar Bari in the historic ancient city of Sonargaon. The brainchild of Youngone's chairman, Ki-Hak Sung, the project was fully financed and executed by Youngone. The restored site was recently inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and has been handed back to the government of Bangladesh's Ministry of Cultural Affairs to be experienced by visitors from generations to come. The combination of Youngone's commitment to people, its commitment to the planet, and its commitment to art and culture together show the depth of Youngone's commitment to CSR and Youngone's enduring commitment to Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, Chairman Ki-Hak Sung, for that very impressive presentation. Can we now return to the panel? Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed that. I think this is a shining example for the private sector. We are all proud of the achievements of Youngone, and they have set an example for our private sector. And they have made a significant contribution to enhancing the image of Bangladesh. So we are most grateful to you, Chairman Ki-Hak Sung, for your very impressive initiatives. Thank you. It now gives me a great pleasure to invite Mr. Mustafa Kamal, who is the chairman of one of the leading groups in the country, and he is also the president of the Korean Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are very happy that you could join us, and it gives us great pleasure to listen to your remarks. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Mustafa Kamal. The floor is yours. You need to unmute yourself. আপনাকে শোনা যাচ্ছে না, আপনাকে আনমিউট করতে হবে।
Hello, শোনা যাচ্ছে স্যার? শোনা যাচ্ছে স্যার?
Over to you.
Thank you, sir. So, Honorable Minister, Planning, Government of Bangladesh, Muhammad Abdul Mannan MP, His Excellency Mr. Lee Jan King, Ambassador, Republic of Korea, His Excellency Mr. Sudipto Mukerjee, Resident Representative UNDP, Mr. Ki-Hak Sung, Chairman Youngone Corporation, and Honorable Chairman Board of Trustees, CSR Center, Mr. Farooq Sobhan, and distinguished participant of the meeting. Assalamu alaikum. Very good afternoon, and for you, sir, good morning to you, sir. So it is my eminence pleasure to participate in the Zoom meeting on very special issue, CSR from human resources, development and economic growth. So we already learned about the objective of the meeting. Our Honorable Minister has also hinted about our CSR position in Bangladesh. So we already came to know activities related to CSR from esteemed organization UNDP, and also from the ambassador of Korea. So we are aware Bangladesh is doing well in implementing 17 points sustainable development goal SDGs set by the United Nations. So we know goal number 1 SDG is related to eliminate poverty, and goal 8 is to achieve economic goal. The other goals also need to achieve support these 2 goals. So we know from time immemorial philanthropic activities going on in Bangladesh, and the poor people are helped by the rich people. Earlier education system was totally based on the financial support of the rich people and the landlord of the society. So however, we know philanthropy is part of CSR, and our predecessor contributed to the CSR through their philanthropy activities. Zakat is another form of CSR privileging our society, where poor and distressed people are benefited. Government of Bangladesh also maintain a Zakat program. So we believe CSR is not threat but opportunity for a company. Generally, we know CSR induct revenue in increase from enhanced sales and can get some benefit from the government. As President KBCCI, I can proudly mention that the member companies are dedicated to implement their CSR program, especially mention here that the Bangladesh Korea Technical Training Center in Chittagong working produce commitment graduates in different occupations. It proves the technical and vocational education training center forecast local and overseas employment. It is also notable that the promote of young entrepreneurship in Bangladesh, Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA, is offering capacity building initiative in the university level. KOTRA is rendering their utmost support to generate successful partnership with the business community of 2 countries. In order to start the trade region, the stronger mutual presence within the Korea and Bangladesh market, the KBCCI is working, promoting and facilitating the trade activities between the 2 countries. However, later part, the meeting will listen from our Korean friends about their activities. As the chairman and managing director of the Meghna group of industry, so I would like to mention some activities CSRs we are doing here for a long period. Under this group, we have established primary school, madrasa, high school, college, and university. So we established a foundation named Alhaj Nurmia Foundation. It is my father's name. And from this foundation, we have distributed a scholarship for the poor student. We have established 12-storied female hostel, including another 7, 8, 6 stories and 8 stories building in union level. We also donated 50 lakhs taka to the Department of Marketing, Dhaka University, as a stipend for the student of the department. And we also provide bus for the student of Jagannath University. At the Hazrat Shahjalan International Airport, we established a baby counter to help the mothers, young children. So we are also committed to the development, sports and culture of the country. For human resources, we are undertaking the project, establish a technical training institute in the local area. We are also planning to establish 20-bed hospital. There is a part of CSR. So apart from this, we are also participating in the government initiatives such as providing house and poor homeless people program. Very recently, we have contributed to the 10 crore taka Honorable Prime Minister Housing and Corona Fund. In Bangladesh, there is no rule guidance about CSR, which is necessary to help business community to as well as the economic growth. So far, we know Bangladesh Bank is preferring guidance for the banking sector only, because every banking sector, you know, so 5% we are, it is mandatory, 5% of the profit for the CSR. So our Honorable Planning Minister may kindly consider this issue. So we are hopeful that under dynamic chairmanship of Mr. Farooq Soban, the CSR Center, I think CSR Center, a think tank of Bangladesh, will find out the suitable way for the benefit of the people of the Bangladesh and will ensure economic growth through CSR. Before conclude, I would like to show my warm gratitude to you all, especially to the Honorable Minister, to give his valuable time in this Zoom meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. আরে মোস্তফা কামাল সাহেব, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। সরি,
Sir,
আমি এতক্ষণ খেয়াল করিনি, আমি আপনাকে চিনতে পারি না। I'm sorry. My failure. I
Sir.
couldn't help.
No, sir. আপনি এত ব্যস্ত থাকেন, আমি তো গেছি কয়েকবার আপনি এখানে স্যার।
অনেক ধন্যবাদ আপনাকে। I should have recognized you much earlier, but I failed. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa Kamal, for your remarks. We are very proud of the achievements of Meghna Group, and we are very happy with the leadership you have provided to the Bangladesh Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We look forward to your continuing the good work. We now have 5 speakers from the Korean businesses in Bangladesh. The first on my list is Mr. Koo Won Mo, Director of Samsung Research and Development Institute in Bangladesh. Mr. Koo, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening to all the valued participants today. Assalamu alaikum. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe during this pandemic. I'm Won-mo Koo, Managing Director of Samsung R&D Institute, Bangladesh. It is a great honor to be here with the most renowned figures at today's meaningful event and share our CSR activities with you. First, let me briefly introduce SRBD. Next, please. Samsung R&D Institute, Bangladesh, SRBD for short, started its journey in 2010 as the first IT-based global R&D center in Bangladesh. Since its inception, SRBD has been pursuing excellence in software technology with our talented engineers recruited from universities all over Bangladesh. Our employees have been contributing to global Samsung business with their competence in developing software for Samsung products such as mobile phone, wearable, home appliances, and network equipment for more than a decade. And we believe that we are also participating in building a digital Bangladesh vision by hiring potential young people and training them to become competent engineers who will be asset to ICT sector in this country. Next, please. Our CSR philosophy, we made our CSR philosophy like we will be committed to providing the environment, enabling young IT talents to use technology as a tool to create and achieve their own dreams. Since we are an IT company and we wanted to do CSR activities in IT and educational sector areas by utilizing our expertise in software and help young people freely use IT technologies to fulfill their dreams. We have identified 3 major fields of work as fostering talent, supporting infrastructure development in university, and training IT skills. Let me give you details on this from next slide. First, let me explain our Junior Software Academy activities. We believe that we need to focus on young students to ensure a better future of information and technology in this country. We invited young students who didn't usually have this kind of educational opportunity to our facility every Friday for 8 weeks and offered several classes to them. Our 8 weeks curriculum consisted of computer basics, how to use MS Office programs like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, etc., and especially a basic coding skill. We have completed 3 batches of training of 75 students, and their satisfaction level with this program was quite high. But unfortunately, you know, due to COVID-19, this activity has been put on hold. But we will be happy to resume this activity once the pandemic is over. Next, please. These days, software is becoming increasingly important to every country, preparing for the fourth industrial revolution era. Every country will need a lot more software engineers in the future than now. To catch up with this trend and raise university students' interest in coding and help them gain a lot of practical coding experience and grow into good software engineers who will play a key role in Bangladesh ICT sector in the future. SRBD has been hosting its own coding contest and co-sponsoring ICPC contest. We hope this will be a solid platform for students to interact, demonstrate and improve their teamwork, programming, and the problem-solving skills, which will be essential qualities for good software engineers. Next, please. Next, please. We got to know Buet and Dhaka University CSE department had insufficient infrastructure and IT equipment for their labs. So we helped them build quality innovation labs by providing basic infrastructure and equipment for those 2 universities. Later, we extended our support by establishing artificial intelligence, the machine learning lab for Buet. We are hoping this lab helps the students to conduct advanced research and the collaboration work. Next, please. Teachers with sound knowledge on IT can simplify complex IT lessons for students and grow passion among them. We introduced creating shared value activity to provide technical knowledge to the school teachers. We trained them on basic computer software and the useful applications. We trained a total 82 teachers from 43 high schools around the Dhaka city. After this meeting, we believe they returned to their workplace with renewed confidence and enthusiasm to teach their students. Next, please. We consider special children as an integral part of community. We took an interest in helping these special children. At the time, we came to know that the Samsung HQ already developed an app called Look at Me, aiming to help develop communication skills in children with autism, with a view to deepening a relationship with the people around them. We collaborated with the Samsung marketing office here and customized this app to make it suitable for children with autism who can only understand Bangla. The initial version of Look at Me app supported only English and Korean. The customized app was successfully installed on 100 Samsung tablet devices, and they were donated to Shona Foundation to help children with autism. Needless to say, all engineers who participated in this activity are still proud of having been able to join this activity and those children. Besides, every year we provide education and IT materials to underprivileged students in public school around our office to help them have a better facility and educational environments. Next, please. Lastly, let me make just a few concluding remarks. By creating a virtuous cycle of fostering young talents, enhancing their capabilities, providing incubation support, and shaping technical skills, we believe that we have been contributing to building an IT-friendly community for young generation. And we will continue on the relentless path to aligning our action towards nation's objective, Digital Bangladesh Vision 2021. Thank you all. Dhanyabad.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let me now move to the next speaker on my list. We have the representative from Samsung Electronics. You have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mr. Lee?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Farouk. Good evening, all. Honorable host, Korean Ambassador, Mr. Lee, and the honorable guest from Bangladesh, Honorable Minister, Mr. Muhammad, special guest, and all, Youngone Chairman, Mr. Gyak-sung. It's an honor for me to be here.
The host
and
he needs to admit you in.
So today I'm here on behalf of our country manager, Mr. Hwan Sung-woo. And today I'd like to share some Samsung CSR activities in Bangladesh to grow together with the people for a better future. Next, please. Next slide, please. First of all, let me introduce the journey of Samsung in Bangladesh from the beginning till now. Samsung started operation in Bangladesh from 2009, and we started assembling line to engage with more customer from 2012 onwards. Now Samsung is producing TV, refrigerator, RAC, microwave oven, and smartphone from local manufacturing facilities. As you see on right side, the Norishingdi factory is now working from 2018, producing cutting-edge IT technology, such as QLED TV and the high-end smartphone as well. Hereby, I would like to present for Samsung CSR vocational program based on the local manufacturing platform and other CSR training programs for the socially vulnerable people as well. Next, please. As shown in the history, Samsung is also focusing on creating opportunities by facilitating local manufacturing plants and implementing training platforms on cutting-edge technology. Not only creating jobs through vocational training, but we are also focusing on enhancement of quality of life of factory employees. and trying to give equal chance to as many people as possible to share high-tech know-how on manufacturing, management skill, SCM, and other technical skills as well. And the Samsung Mobile and TV and the digital appliance factory, together almost 2,000 jobs are created with the help of our national partners. Next, please. Not only the vocational program, Samsung is also doing advanced training as well. For a few years, we have been operating the Smart School to train advanced repair and the industrial skill for the technical school students in Dhaka. For example, they became successful repair engineer after fulfilling and passing the program and curriculum. So the next Junior Software Academy, actually this was presented by Mr. Gu already. So let me skip this one. And we are also trying to help the brighter future for Bangladesh, for the vulnerable people. This also was done with the Samsung Research Bangladesh, and the SRBD supported the Look at Me application, and the Samsung Electronics branch, we also supported IT appliances like a Galaxy Tab to help those autism children to communicate and express their feelings. And lastly, we executed some meaningful service activities like Care for Bangladesh. In some flood affected area, Samsung was doing some kind of repairing and cleaning for the IT and the home appliance in order to raise the awareness and in order to support those people who are affected. So in order to enrich the growing together with the people, Samsung also journey in Bangladesh will be continuous with the help of you. Okay, this is my presentation, and thank you, Dhonnobat.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Lee. We are very impressed by the work of both Samsung Electronics and earlier your colleague, Mr. Koo, Samsung R&D Institute. This will be a good example for Bangladesh companies to follow, and you are also making a very important contribution to the economic development of Bangladesh through your CSR work. Thank you very much. Let me now invite Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee Haiduk, Deputy, no, we've listened to him. Mr. Rayu Chulho, General Manager of Hyundai Engineering and Construction. So over to you.
Hello everyone, my name is Chulho Ryu and I'm working in Hyundai ENC Dhaka branch office. First of all, I appreciate the Korean and Bangladesh government and institutions for hosting the CSR Conference 2021. Let me share the material first.
소리가 좀 작게.
In the presentation, I'd like to tell you about the brief information of the company and our participation in the cooperation between Korea and Bangladesh. When the ESC was established in 1947, and since that time, the company has been one of the most reliable EPC contractors in the world. Our business portfolio is unique and well balanced, covering a wide range of EPC projects from civil infrastructure, building, plants, and energy and power sectors. These days, projects are becoming larger and more complex, consisting of mixed work. and the ENC can provide total solution as a single responsible contractor for the multidiscipline project. We have 28 branch offices worldwide, including Bangladesh, India, Singapore, Vietnam, and Indonesia, and so on. Since 1965, we have completed around 800 projects in 60 different countries. And at the moment, we have more than 60 ongoing projects overseas. And the ENC is a part of Hyundai Motor Group. Our group consists of 53 affiliates with more than 280,000 employees. And the sales revenue is around 260 billion US dollars. Our group's three main business pillars are automobile, construction, and steel. And Hyundai ENC leads the construction arm of the group. Our mission is to provide added value to all stakeholders, including our partners, utilizing all resources of the group. And the ENC has been in Bangladesh since 1994 with the construction of Jamuna multipurpose bridge project and have completed 12 projects so far, and we are doing one project in Matabari currently. Major completion projects are Jamuna Bridge, Meghna 6PP, Haripur 6PP, and New Haripur 6PP, and so on. We would like to reinforce our competitiveness utilizing our accumulated experience, know-how, and resources in Bangladesh. We also would like to participate continuously in infrastructure projects such as ports, road, bridge, railway, and energy sector to make a contribution in the development of Bangladesh. I will briefly explain about the ongoing project in Matabari. The location is Matabari Island, 80 kilometers south from Chattogram, and we are doing land development and marine work for Matabari coal-fired power plant. The construction period is 77 months from 2017 August to 2024 January, and we are doing the work on schedule. In addition to our contribution to the national development through the successful execution and completion of the project, we are also making efforts to develop the local community through CSR activities. This photo is project sightseeing of local school students, which was done in May 2019, and it was published in the Bangladesh Post. We have experienced that our effort to build intimate relationship with the local community reflects the successful execution and completion of the project. And I believe that this kind of activity will be a great help to do and expand the business. From 2017 April to 2018 March, we implemented anti-disaster drills through our in-house training program for disaster mitigation in Matabari area, and established a community clinic for basic healthcare to provide basic medical treatment, and promoted a livelihood support project for low-income groups as well. As a part of the enhancement of the relationship with local community and improvements in the educational environment, in November 2018, we donated sports equipment to 25 schools in Matabari. And from December 2018 until June 2019, we proceeded the reconstruction of Matabari Public Primary School facility and the supporting education materials and stationery. We operated the program of field trip to the site in 2019, introducing the project to the school students in Matabari region. We donated medical PPE such as masks and gloves against COVID-19 for Matabari village in 2020 April. Even after the activities introduced, our company will continue CSR programs that contribute to the development of the local community. With the CSR conference, I hope a friendly relationship between Korea and Bangladesh will improve further, and the ENC will do utmost effort to make a small contribution to this progress. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rayu. That was a very impressive presentation. We see that the main thrust of your ongoing program is to really go in for community development in Matabari, and that is clearly going to help in improving the life of the community, particularly through support for the schools. Thank you, and we are very impressed by the earlier work of Hyundai Engineering and Construction, one of the leading companies of the world. Our next speaker is Mr. Hong, Country Director of Dohwa Engineering. Mr. Hong, over to you. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Farooq Sobran. Okay. Okay, it's very nice to meet you and all of you. And good evening. I'm Jong Hong, Country Director. So it is an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. And also, it is my great pleasure to have an opportunity to give to you on CSR activity, which is one of the main missions of our company, named the We Value the People and Nature. The next, please. And please allow me to start off by introducing our company briefly. The Dohwa, established in 1957, it was the first civil engineering company in Korea. At the foundation of our company lies three core values: the people, collaboration, and creativity. Dohwa has more than 60 years history, the first civil engineering firm in Korea, and now the biggest one in terms of manpower and annual turnover. The paragraph number 3 shows our company's market position among the top 5 engineering firms in Korea. So next, please. Our challenge is to extend our reach beyond Korea and become the best in the world countries by expanding our main business area. At the same time, we will also conduct our business in the way that would meet the society's ethical standards and fulfill our social responsibilities to stakeholders and shareholders and local communities. Next, please. Starting with the sewage treatment plant in Dhaka Wasa project that was World Bank funded in 2015. We carry out projects in various fields such as railway, road, bridge, and water and sewage systems. Next, please. I'd like to introduce you to our CSR activities, the social contribution. As trusted members of society, we take a step further beyond pursuing economic profits to share happiness together with the local communities. It is to us will to continue to treasure the value of coexistence by supporting the underprivileged and preserving the environmental and culture. The Hope Sharing Fund. This is the way how to create a fund. Our company has come up with the Hope Sharing Fund. The purpose of this fund to carry out various social contribution activities at home and abroad, which is made up the voluntary participation of its employees is raised with a certain amount donated out of one's monthly salary. There currently more than 1,200 members, which is approximately 62% of all employees, are participating in the fund. The company also sponsors amount as the same as the amount donated by employees, operated in so-called matching grant method, which doubles fund size. The next, please. Next, please. Yeah. This slide shows our actual CSR activities for financial support and volunteer activities at home and abroad from 2016. Yeah, before slide. Yeah. So in case of abroad, we supported leukemia patients in Vietnam, Peru flood damage, and Philippines tar volcano eruption with hope sharing funds. So next, please. So this slide presents our actual CSR activities in Bangladesh. In November 2019, the tragic train accident occurred near Mondovag railway station. 16 people were killed and 73 injured in this incident. We donated relief funds to support the victims of train accident. And next, please. And additionally, to prevent the spread of COVID-19, Dohwa distributed various quality masks from Korea to employees, project office, partner firms, and various client office. So we can say we don't have the long history for CSR activity, but I can say our plan for CSR, the beginning is small and weak, but end will be great. So using Dohwa Hope Sharing Fund and other voluntary donations to our engineering has the right intent to support any CSR activities in the future in Bangladesh. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hong. We were very impressed by the contribution being made by your company, Dohwa Engineering, and we encourage you to continue this good work, which is making a significant contribution to the development and growth of Bangladesh. The last speaker on my list is Mr. Ruhul Ali Alam Al Mahbub, Chairman of FAIR Group. You have the floor. And after that, I will invite His Excellency, the Ambassador, to make some closing remarks.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So thank you, sir. Mr. Farooq Soban, the moderator, a renowned diplomat. I really appreciate for today's timely event. and I appreciate the Korean Embassy and His Excellency Mr. Lee for hosting this event. So, Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Muhammad Abdul Mannan, Honorable Minister of Planning, His Excellency Mr. Lee Jae-kyun, Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to Bangladesh, renowned businessman, and of course the great business leader here, Mr. Mustafa Kamal, President KBCCI, country representative, Mr. Sudipto Mukerjee, fellow panel speakers, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and good evening you all. Frankly speaking, CSR is not just a new idea here in Bangladesh. So the practice, as we are the Muslim country, even in Islam, it was a built-in our societies as zakat practices. But institutionally, globally, CSR and the corporate philanthropy coming in a new manner and much organized way institutionally. And I personally thank our Honorable Prime Minister, our Finance Minister, and of course, our Honorable Planning Minister here, incorporate Made in Bangladesh, putting in the budget in a big way. Without the success of Made in Bangladesh, without the big conglomerate, without the big business house, institutional CSR might not be coming in a big way and might not contribute in many areas aligned with the UNDP SDG. We Fair Group is a local company, but very fortunate, honored and proud to be working with Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motors, two largest companies in Korea. Korea is the 10th largest economy in the world, where these two companies, group of companies contributes 40 to 45% of the GDP. So it's really big thing for us. We all know how Korea is transforming into the technology nation. In last 9 years, as per Bloomberg, Korea is the 7th highest innovative country in the world. Working with Samsung, I learned so many things. They are very passionate about R&D. They are very passionate about the innovation. Extremely hardworking nation and well disciplined, much regimented. And I just started working with Hyundai, and I'm learning many things from them as well. I just want to focus some of the areas. Actually, we believe CSR is not just an isolated or any separate kind of activities. It lies well into our current business operation. In our current operation, we believe whatever the SDG is there by the UNDP, it lies into. As I mentioned, made in Bangladesh and being a manufacturer of Samsung Electronics, mobile, refrigerator, television, air condition, washing machine, created a lot of technical jobs, which is really helping SDG number 1 and number 2, no poverty and zero hunger. We have already created around 3,000 jobs, and by another 3 years, we are targeting to create 10,000 jobs in North Sindhi area only. And 95% of the people should be coming around North Sindhi. We are just going out of the city and we are just trying to create North Sindhi as a next technological hub. Let's say Gazipur is a garments area. We are in a way of creating North Sindhi in a different height and the technological hub. Regarding the good health and well-being, in our factory, Samsung factory, all our staffs having the medical insurances and with their family members, they are entitled to have, including the management and non-management, even though the driver and the peon, they have the access to be treated in the United Hospital, Square Hospital, Apollo Hospital, all the top hospitals. Not only our members, their family members as well, including wife and the 2 children. Adequate medical facilities at our factory premises. We have doctors, nurses, and so many medical staffs. And of course, we have the life insurances, and we have the workers' participatory fund as well. So for quality education, we are giving many scholarships to the technical and vocational institute nearby the North Sindhi areas, as our goal is to bring all North Sindhi people, training them and bringing into our factories, creating the job. Not just for today 3,000 jobs, for another 3 years, we are creating 10,000 jobs nearby. Established computer lab in many schools. Donated many refrigerators to like, the Surjamukhi and others, what I can say, the rural medical centers to keep the medicine, and donated even to the schools to have the fresh water from our own refrigerator factories. Donated bicycles to the girls who are just far away from the school and who can run the bicycle. And even some of the schools we have donated for smart classes, because our goal is to, today we can see the advantage of the digitalization through the tab, through the smart TV. So all the students are getting connected into the online classes. So we had donated many schools and others this kind of facilities. Today, our 30% are the female employee, and we are targeting to 50% of employees should be women and from the nearby North Sindhi area. Thus, we can minimize the gender inequality. Also here, you will see very soon, we are creating many jobs for the transgenders. You can see in 3 months, we will employ many more transgenders also in our factory. Regarding the clean energy, today, what are the machines we have in our Samsung factory? Very less carbon emission. All our products are green products, inverter products. So these are mostly most environment friendly. And any of our, what I can say, there is no waste. So everything we do the recycling in our factory. We have the facilities for recycling everything. So there is no waste. In our premises, it's a very decent workplaces. Everybody is working under the air condition, in the television, in refrigerator, and even in the mobile factory. So this could be one of the best condition work experience. And for the economic growth, even in 2018, when we have just started the factory, in manufacturing category, we are the highest VAT payer in 2018 and 19. Thus, we are contributing into the economic growth. Our industry is the technology-based industry. So I really appreciate Samsung sending hundreds of engineers, giving training to all our people. As you know, we are not very good at in the vocational industry. We send many workers and line leaders and engineers to Korea, to Vietnam, to Thailand, and many countries in the world. They stayed 1 week, 15 days, month, and even 3 months to get that technical know-how and been trained in the Samsung factory. And also, as I mentioned, so many engineers came here, stayed here for long, months after months, and trained our people. And now they are really, really technically qualified, even though some of them are not really studied in many technical schools. But giving the hands-on experience, we made them really, really technology, friendly. Our engineers are also trained, as I mentioned. So today, not just the women, we have already engaged many, the special children, as I mentioned, in our factory and some others area, and already mentioned the transgender people also to be in the factory. And our goal, especially in Noshindi area, there is a slogan: one person from one family across the Noshindi area. That is our goal. One person from every family. And hopefully within 23, we'll make all Noshindi 13 to 15,000 jobs. And thus we can bring many more people into the job and the technical job. We have distributed many more sewing machine in the distressed women, and we are trying to mainstreaming many lacking behind people. And of course, as I mentioned, the power saving inverter, energy efficient recycling facilities, and the inverter technology from the Samsung is also very, very much environment friendly. And finally, by next year, 2022, we have already started working, and we are on the way to plant 1 million trees around the Noshindi area, so that our people, as we have already established the industry, so that we may have a fresh air around the Noshindi. And as today is the event organized by the Korean Embassy, and we would love to have any idea coming from the Korean Embassy, Koika and Putra, or many other colleagues here. We want to return back all our profit we are making from the business to our society. So this is our final commitment to you all and to our people here in Bangladesh. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ruhul Alam Al Mahbub. It would appear that thanks to the work of your company and Samsung, you are going to change the face of Narsingdi. We wish you good luck. In fact, we are seeing that through the work of Youngone and Samsung and Hyundai Engineering and other Korean companies, there is an effort really not simply to protect the environment, but to support the community, to undertake recycling and waste management. And we really welcome and appreciate this very much. We have heard some extremely interesting presentations on the good work that is being done by these Korean giants in the world of industry and business. And they are helping really to also change the face of Bangladesh. We want Bangladesh to be known as a country which is socially responsible, which is doing the right thing for its people and its communities. And that will make a significant contribution to enhancing the image of the country and making us more attractive for further investments from Korea and other parts of the world. It gives me great pleasure now to invite His Excellency Ambassador Lee to make some closing remarks. Over to you, Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Farooq Soban. It's getting late already. We have this and hear from the participants already for over 2 hours. But I think the other participants also had the similar feeling like me that I learned a lot about the companies and their activities, and also their CSR related activities especially. I think the 3 purposes I mentioned in my beginning statement has been largely fulfilled at the end of this 2-hour session. The raising awareness of the importance of CSR activities, and also sharing these experiences and good models of Korean companies, and also as well as the Bangladesh companies. Chairman of MGI, Chairman Mustafa Kamal, and also Chairman of Peer Group, Chairman Mahbub, also share their very valuable activities and also their business philosophy. Like diplomacy, business, I think, is about winning the heart and mind of the people. And winning the heart and mind is about the trust. So without trust, you cannot build relations. Without trust, you cannot get to the consumers and your customers. So CSR is the heart to this winning the heart and minds of the people. And I think listening to the statement and presentations of participants, we realize the importance of this contribution to the community and society. And I'm very glad that all the participants are really committed to get back to return to the profit and benefit to the society and communities. And my job as an ambassador to Bangladesh is to make our relationship closer than ever, strengthen and deepen. And in doing that, I think business and companies are in the front line, and their role is really, really crucial. As companies in Korea made Korea's today possible. And in the same way, these companies, Korean companies in Bangladesh, will make our bilateral relationship deeper and stronger. I thank you all the participants, and also I especially express my heartfelt thank to Honorable Planning Minister Mannan, who have been with us for this more than 2 hours of this discussion. That shows his very affection to Korea and Korea-Bangladesh relations, and very willingness to do his part. And I will respond to his willingness and also his warm heart for the better and strengthen the relations. I thank all, and I do wish you do well, stay well and strong in this very difficult time. And lastly, for this occasion of a CSR event, my embassy prepared some souvenirs which could show the friendship between our 2 countries. I will show you one part. Can you see this?
You can see it.
This is a friendship mug we prepared on this particular occasion. So my embassy will share this prepared mug to all the participants, and including Planning Minister Mannan. And I don't know how I can send it to you to the United States. Maybe
no need. I will come back to Dhaka, Excellency, and collect it from you personally.
Thank you for being with us for these long hours. Thank you so much.
Well, we can now.
Shubhoratri and Avardeka Habe and Palodakun.
Thank you, Excellency. Let me now bring this meeting to a close. I would like to join you in thanking the Honorable Minister for Planning, to thank also Mr. Mukerjee and our distinguished speakers, Mr. Ki Hak Song, Mr. Mustafa Kamal, our friends from Samsung R&D and electronics, as well as our other speakers who kindly shared with us their excellent work in the field of CSR. We have all learned a great deal, and the partnership and friendship between Korea and Bangladesh will be further strengthened through our collaboration and cooperation in the economic field, but also in learning from the pioneering work done by Korean companies in the field of CSR. We, of course, would like to thank His Excellency, the Ambassador, and the members of the Korean Embassy, to also thank KOICA and KOTRA, and of course, the Korean Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry under the leadership of Mr. Mustafa Kamal. I believe this has been a very interesting and thought-provoking event. Of course, unfortunately, we have exceeded our time limit by almost 1 hour, but I felt that the occasion warranted to give everyone a chance to share this, their very important experience. And we look forward to further collaboration. My suggestion is that this event should be given wide publicity, and so that a larger audience can come to know about it. And we look forward to more such events of collaboration with the Korean Embassy, whether it is in the field of CSR or in other related fields and activities. So thank you, everyone. I wish you a good day, and please take care of yourselves. This is still a difficult period as far as the pandemic is concerned. Please stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, guest speakers. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, sir. Assalamualaikum, sir.
Thank you, Farooq bhai.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you to our